Items from the public? Nope. Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda? Is there modifications or changes?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Like sign opposed? Motion carries. Consent agenda, purchase order log. Anybody have any?
We should probably go over that with a fine-tooth comb today. Probably, you might even need to have Tracy come up here and answer some questions. This is the last one of the year, so
You're probably right, Dan.
I want to make sure it's right. Anything special we should know about it, Tracy?
It's actually pretty uneventful.
Is it okay?
This will, as Council Person Delia mentioned, this will be the last purchase order of the fiscal year. We will not have one next week, and everyone has been notified. Once this is approved and it's closed, then we'll finish closing out the current, closing out the current fiscal year. And we've been busy trying to get everything inputted into the new financial system for the beginning of fiscal year 2022. And we'll start the soft rollout of that 2 weeks from today.
We have 8 internal budget revisions. Mr. Davis?
Yes, sir. I have 8 internal budget revisions for your consideration. The first is from Department 428, Information Technology. And as you know, this is the time of the year that all of our electeds and department heads are cleaning up the deficit balances within their departments and preparing for any small ancillary bills that may exist for the rest of the fiscal year. Mr. Wine's requesting that he be allowed to reduce line 341, supplies and materials, by $10,000. Current unencumbered fund balance is $98,203.67, with 79.13% spent to date, and increased line 223 professional services by $10,000. That account currently has a deficit balance of $1,808.96. And again, the request is being made to correct deficit balance and assure future funding. The next 2 requests are also from Mr. Wine, Department 428, Information Technology. Mr. Wine's requesting that he be allowed to decrease 341 supplies and materials again by $18,000. Current unencumbered fund balance, subtracting the $10,000 from the previous internal budget revision request, would be $88,203.67. An increased line 453 software by $18,200. That account currently has a deficit balance of $11,688. The last request for information technology, 428, Mr. Wine's requesting that he be allowed to decrease line 219, building and equipment rental, by $100. Current unencumbered fund balance is $20,735.99, with 94.93% spent to date. An increased line 218 postage by $100. That account currently has a deficit balance of $58.62. The next several internal budget revision requests is from the Honorable Sheriff Nathan Harmon. Sheriff Harmon, Department 700, Law Enforcement, is requesting that he be allowed to decrease line 341, supplies and materials by $3,906. Current unencumbered fund balance is $34,593.51, with 72.36% spent to date, and also decreased line 214 travel by $1,400. Current unencumbered fund balance is $1,956.49, with 81.44% spent to date. An increased line 230 contracted services by $5,306. That account currently has a deficit balance of $1,089.34. The next request from Sheriff Harmon is also Department 700. Sheriff Harmon's requesting that he be allowed to decrease line 220, advertising and publications, by $304. Current unencumbered fund balance is $575.21, with 24.27% spent to date. An increased line 218 postage by $304. That account currently has an unencumbered fund balance of 31 cents. The next request from Sheriff Harmon, again Department 700, decreased line 341, supplies and materials, by $8,795. Current unencumbered fund balance after subtracting the $3,906 previous internal budget revision would be $30,687.51. An increased line 345, uniforms, by $8,795. Current unencumbered fund balance is $4,303.58, with 93.78% spent to date. Final request from Sheriff Harmon, Department 700. He's requesting that he be allowed to decrease line 222, dues and subscriptions, by $2,790. Current unencumbered fund balance is $3,240, with 19% spent to date. Also decreased line 223, professional services, by $1,307. Current unencumbered fund balance is $1,532.87, with 93.25% spent to date. And increased line 221, training and education, by $4,097. That account currently has an unencumbered fund balance of $4,109.94. The last request again is from Mr. Wine, but this request is for Department 717, which is our central garage. Mr. Wine's requesting that he be allowed to decrease line 226, insurance and bonds, and that's the account that we use when we get claims payments from the risk pool. Decrease that account by $6,000. Current unencumbered fund balance is $18,032.42, with 73.31% spent to date. An increased line 217, maintenance and repair autos, by $6,000. That account currently has an unencumbered fund balance of $3,425.57.
Has there been any movement in the next year's budget to anticipate some of these expenses that, in the future, some of them wouldn't have to be handled this way?
Well,
Some of them, I know,
as far as
can.
internal budget revisions,
Yeah,
I think the department heads generally do a pretty good job, and it's not until we get towards the end where we
Yeah.
see, an abundance of those. Sometimes it's just unanticipated.
yeah, I didn't know if some of them were indication of a trend or anything like
No,
that.
Not really. I'll use IT as an example. When we go through internal budget revisions once a month, we dump a lot of the payments that Gary gets for services rendered to outside agencies and supplies and materials. And we do that knowing that as he needs money in the various operating items, that we just do it through internal
Yeah.
budget revision.
Yeah, I know some of them are like, well, we build this up so we can do this at the end, and but I didn't know if it was some of these you could anticipate and say, well, let's boost these up a little bit in the budget, and then we don't have to do this.
And when we give the department heads and the electeds their budget allocation, once you lay the levy in April, we say, here's how much you have for personnel, and here's how much you have for operating. And they will take that money based on some of the spending trends, and they'll reallocate that. But and then, as you know, early on in the fiscal year, we don't have any of these, and it's towards the end of the year where, for example, the sheriff is hiring some more deputies, so we need to move some money so that we can do physicals and some of the background checks and psychological testing and purchase some more uniforms. So that's why he's doing what he's doing. And a lot of times they'll do it in anticipation of, and again, I'll use the sheriff's department, knowing that we're gonna hire some new deputies coming on in July. He's ordering some gun belts and some equipment belts now that he will need for these new staffing, so that, when we do onboard them, they'll be ready to go.
Any other questions? Alrighty, have change in status. Letter of resignation received from the Day Report Center for Ronnie Gaither, effective July the 9th, 2021. Letter of resignation received from 911 for Kelsey Weaver, effective June 30th, 2021. Letter of resignation received from the Assessor's Office for Nicole Stutler, effective June 10th, 2021. The approval of the minutes, Council President Copenhagen and myself were not present, so we need to pull those to have a separate motion.
Mr. Vice President, President Whitaker, I move to approve the council meeting minutes of June 3rd, 2021. Now that's interesting. Only up to 2021.
Yeah,
Second, June 3rd, 2021, is that what you said?
No, June 3rd, 2021.
yeah, 3,000. If you look up there at the top, it's 3,021.
Oh,
Warp speed.
I'm looking at my read ahead.
I was gonna say,
I just noticed it.
On the,
we're approving minutes we haven't even had yet.
who did that, Tracy?
Gosh. All right. All those in favor say aye. Like sign opposed. And one abstention from due to absence. Let's see, council calendars. Yeah, council calendars. Go back to here. There we go. Council calendars for June 2021. Offices will be closed Monday, or West Virginia Day. And we'll be here next Thursday, the 24th. Down here to June 21, board and commission calendars. Again, offices closed on the 21st. On 22nd, WR&R, I will be there. I was there this Tuesday too. So I'll be there again on next Tuesday. And planning commission at 6 p.m. On the 23rd, 10 o'clock at CVB, 3 p.m. senior services. On the 24th, 5 p.m. Ambulance Authority and 5 p.m. Library Board. What else we got?
Mr. President, if I may, just a reminder, next week's meeting, we'll have our regular business meeting in the morning, and at 1 o'clock at your request, we have the health department coming in to discuss some of the new regulatory requirements and the oversight that this council has, some additional oversight responsibilities that this council has with the Department of Health. So they'll be here at 1 o'clock next Thursday.
Is that part of the meeting?
Yes, sir.
Is that
It'll be on the agenda.
conversation we talked about we were going to have?
Yes, sir.
With the new legislation?
Yep.
It's good because I have a headache and was on the job site yesterday and was being asked about health department service.
They will be here next week to answer all of our questions.
Good.
When?
Next-
1 o'clock next Thursday.
Great. We had canceled check from the clerk's finance office. And had 4 of them? I missed 4. Oh, yes, we did. Okay.
What's happened is they're mailing out checks through postal service and they're not being delivered. So, and I'll use B&R mowing and landscaping. That's actually an old snow removal check that was sent out for snow removal this past winter that was never received.
Really?
So we've gone through and we've identified some of the stale checks, we've notified the vendors, and then we're making those
Reissued.
corrections. Yes, sir.
All right, is there a
So they're
motion?
just not getting delivered? And they hadn't called to ask about it?
Well, DNR mowing did, that's how it came to our attention.
I got you.
All right. And let's see, we have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Like sign opposed, motion carries. Correction of assessment logs, the Honorable Larry Hess. 3 personal property tax exonerations for Office Air.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, just have 3 from last week, for the same reasons. Taxpayer was double billed by mistake. And, total of those 3 come up to $308.70.
All right, we have a motion to approve.
So, second.
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 All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Like sign opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
Anything else? That's it. Good enough. Thank you, sir.
15 seconds.
All right. Let's see here, board and meeting reports. Mr. Barnhart.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. Had a couple meetings I attended and one I didn't. And of course, they're all scheduled Monday. Had the Eastern Panhandle Regional Planning and Development Council. That was a Zoom meeting. And it'll be the last Zoom meeting. The next meeting will be in Jefferson County, and that'll be an actual meeting. It may be a combination Zoom and meeting, because some people really like Zoom meetings because it saves the travel time. Trying to find the agenda. They adopted the budget. The meeting schedule had news and projects and all that sort of stuff. It was mostly just a business meeting, very well attended, and we got some things done, but nothing of much interest. And then the Board of Health meeting, of course, the topic of conversation was COVID. In cases, they've had a 90% decrease, from January or something like that. So they're getting back to normal, so to speak. And they discussed, a lot of COVID issues. And they approved the chain of command, approved the budget, approved the program plan, and that was pretty much it. And then, of course, I had a water district meeting, but couldn't attend it because I attended the Board of Health meeting. Of course, the Board of Health was off on their schedule because of next week being West Virginia Day. 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
That's what I've heard.
That's what Meatloaf said.
Yep.
Mr. Delier.
I actually had a couple of meetings on Monday and missed those because of a doctor's appointment, so missed that. I did attend. I did have not a board meeting, but a progress meeting on the design of Harold Drive yesterday. They came up with 3 concepts that we're going to be looking at, and
Are they going to upgrade Harold Drive clear from Tabor Station Road?
we have to.
Yeah, because it's kind of narrow.
They have to. I mean, they'd have to. I think it's the thought process, and it's in the design stages. But the thought process is that it'll be rural development. So rural development has a different standard. Although it'll probably have a good bit of traffic once it's all put in. But
Do they have to enlarge the right of way, or is the right of way big enough?
they probably have to enlarge the right of way. They need 3 12-foot lanes, a turning lane, and 2 drive lanes. And the right of way currently, I think, is only Not very big.
I think it's only 30 foot.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's pretty small.
There's plenty of room there. There's nothing right up against it.
Right, and there's a good bit of room over to the interstate fence and all, so I think they'll be able to manage. It looks like it'll go real well, but there's a couple different concepts to look at. But it's good to finally get to that point where we're just about ready to move forward with some plans. They've had a lot of interaction with the public and property owners and that type of thing. So it's good to see that. And I went to a ribbon cutting for Sutton Janelle yesterday. They bought the old YMCA building down here and converted it into there's some office suites. They have other people in the building. They had Berkeley Glass did a really nice job on creating some offices up in the library. There's a conference room that's all glass and a couple offices that are all glass enclosures.
Isn't there a pool in that building?
There was one in the
It's still
basement.
there.
Yeah, there's they've taken, I don't know about the pool, I didn't go down the basement, but the neat thing is that all these people that are in there now, and they've got 4 other entities in there that are renting space. They refinished the gym floor and all that, so they still have the whole basketball court, and they've got up above they got a treadmill and a little bit of stuff and a place to hit.
Pickleball?
Yeah, so they've got a stress reliever place. You know what I mean? You can go. They got a bag they can beat on a little bit if they got too much stress. So they got a gym in their facility. How neat? Yeah.
And a jail.
Huh?
And a jail.
Yeah.
There was a jail at one time. The city police had their jail there.
Down in the
And
basement.
the bars are still there for one cell.
Is it? Yeah, I didn't go downstairs. I should have went downstairs. But I didn't go downstairs, but I did go upstairs and look at some of the offices upstairs and what they've done.
Beautiful building.
They did a good job on their restoration because they just kind of restored everything as it was, and then by creating these glass cubicles, put offices in areas instead of building walls and doing that kind of stuff. Really, really good idea how they did it, and they did these glass walls with frosted glass, except for like the top, way up high, the top couple feet that's glass is clear glass, so that it lets light flow back and forth through the building. Very good. Pretty cool. Yeah, pretty cool.
Anything else?
That's it.
All right. Mr. Okenai.
Yes, sir. Monday I was on WR&R. Of course, you know, that's always a great conversation with them. They're very professional. Enjoyed the opportunity to speak with them. Parks and Rec Board, a lot of the programs are up and running. A lot of the programs are full. They are having trouble with getting enough counselors for all the programs that they have, as well as lifeguards. They're having trouble acquiring lifeguards. So anybody out there that has a lifeguard certification, if you're looking for a job, you'll see Parks and Rec. They're very aggressively narrowing down their list on their director position.
Who's running the place now?
Excuse me?
Who's running the place now?
Well, I'll tell you what, they have some extremely good department heads. And I think Steve has stepped back into the role a little bit, not 100%, because he's got some pretty good people in place there. And they're going just fine. I'd say the programs are moving, a lot of them are full. So, but they're in need of labor like a whole lot of other organizations are right now. And I say, as far as the director, they had they did a countrywide search. They've got it narrowed down to 3 or 4, and they're really excited with some of the prospects. They're not quite ready to pull the trigger yet. They just don't have everything nailed down yet. I had a Region 9 Hazardous Mitigation Conference Committee meeting, which was very well attended. Mr. Davis was there, a number of our staff was there as well. Across the city, the county, I had a real good group of people working to get this hazardous mitigation plan put together. Yesterday evening, had a criminal justice board, which basically is the pastor and Tim Si's boards. We know how busy they are.
they're not far from bursting at the seams already in this new facility that's has been built for them. And also yesterday morning, Becker Heights Committee on their facility, which is moving along very well. And, everything's all good.
What's the estimated completion on the Baker Heights?
November, December, they're ahead of schedule still. So, right now they're doing their pours in the engine room. So they have one section poured, and I think they've got 3 more to do.
Okay. I had a Zoom meeting with West Virginia Court on Thursday. I was actually traveling down the road. I was not driving, but I attended my Zoom meeting while headed to another direction.
Are you not supposed to Zoom while you're driving?
I wasn't driving,
I'm just asking. Are you not supposed to do that?
not if you're driving.
Okay. Why is that? I mean, you can talk on the phone if your hand's free, right?
Well, yeah, just as long as you shut off the video and you're not sitting there staring at it. But anyway, it was, we had to reelect the officers of the board. Willie Parker, who has since then stepped down and has moved on. Blair Couch was named the chairman of the West Virginia Court. He's from Wood County. And they actually nominated me for the vice chair. So I guess that and 50 cents might give me a cup of coffee one day, but it's an honor to be nominated.
Congratulations.
And the discussion of the passing of Mike was so sad. And we could tell that the office staff is truly in the so
2 years old.
62. But, you know, you look at it, he was on the golf course. It wasn't maybe a little bit too early, but yet he's doing what he loves. And through the discussion, and like I said, it was there was the finance committee was discussing on different ways to invest some of the surplus to garner a little bit better yield on it. It's financially secure, and with the conservatisms of the board, we took more of a tactical approach through the investment part of it. So that was good. It lasted almost 2.5 hours. So it was a good meeting. And I also was on WRNR on Tuesday with Rob and Dave, and you're right, Eddie. As always, it's always good to be there in person. And last time I was on during COVID and over the telephone, but it was nice to be back in the studio and always enjoy going there. So that's all that I have.
Mr. Vice President, if I may, just for your reference, I did receive correspondence from the Berkeley County Public Service Water District asking me to inform the council that, as you know, the DOH project in and around Route 50, one exit has required a fair amount of water main relocation work by the contractor. A large water main has been relocated, and a final tie into the existing mains are required to complete this phase of the work. In order to complete the tie-in water service for approximately 124 houses and businesses will be interrupted. The interruption is scheduled for Monday, June the 28th from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. The Water District has indicated that due to the close proximity to Route 81, the level of noise that's affiliated with this work will be negligible, but there will be some water interruptions, and they wanted me to make sure the council is aware of it.
About 51.
Yes, sir.
About 50.
Route 51.
I was gonna say, I thought he said 50, did he?
No, Route 51. So,
And that's in regards to the roundabouts up in Inwood.
right. So they will, they'll of course be putting out a public service announcement, and we'll push it out over Alert Berkeley also for that area.
We also, is there a way that we can notify the fire departments as well that water will be shut off in
We can do that.
South Berkeley, Becker Heights, and Back Big Down?
All right. Board and commission vacancies. Is there any?
Yes, sir. Have a reappointment for Mr. John Myers for the Berkeley County Sewer District.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Uh-huh.
Like sign opposed. Myers is reappointed.
Do you want to go ahead and schedule, the new applicant for the BZA?
Yes, sir. Take care of that.
What do we got, 4 today? 4 applicants for the BZA today?
And we have what, 2 vacancies?
Well, we're checking on that.
Well, there's 5 spots, isn't there? There's actually 5 spots on that.
A little bit ahead of schedule is Jeffrey Campbell here for a candidate for Board of Zoning and Appeals. Not here yet. Corey Rodriguez, we'll go ahead and come on up and introduce yourself and tell us something we don't know.
My name's Corey Rodriguez. I live at 498 Woollerville Road, which is within the Mountain Brook Estates in the Tuscarora zoning district. I'm interested in joining if you guys choose me. I've always been a proponent of zoning. I think it's a good thing. I think the zoning helps form your residential area, keeps the character that's there while allowing, say, healthy growth within the area. I have no personal prior experience on a zoning board. As for what I do in my job, I've spent the last almost 18 years designing and engineering concrete formwork, and that involves residential, commercial, and infrastructure.
Good. Alrighty, Corey, thank you. And we'll kind of ask a couple questions with Mr. Barnhart starting off. And
I guess you're aware of the Tuscarora zoning amendments that were asked for?
Yes, I attended the planning commission and one of your the meetings for you guys last evening, Thursday.
Of course, this is a zoning appeals board. If something comes up, the board would meet to address anybody who wanted to put a doctor's office or a dog kennel or what have you in the zoning area. And I'm not sure when the last time the zoning appeals board met.
A couple of years ago, isn't it?
it's been a while.
Yeah, so it's a kind of an on-call thing.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm flexible as far as my job goes. I actually work from home 4 days a week, and 1 day I go in the office in Baltimore.
Oh, that sounds pleasant.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's nice to get out 1 day, but I love working from home.
Yeah.
And that's actually why I lived down there for years. I hated the traffic, the congestion, the city life. And when I was able to afford a house, I found a house out here and love the area out here.
Yeah, I've never worked from home, but I imagine I wouldn't get anything done.
That's how a lot of people are like that, but I'm the opposite. I asked them for a chance to work from home, and when they seen I was producing 2 to 3 times the work compared to the office environment, they're like, stay down.
Well, good for you.
Wow.
Good for you.
Rarity. Thank you for your commitment to your company. That's for
Yeah.
sure. That's a rarity nowadays. Mr. Delier.
Have you had an opportunity to read the charter for the Tuscarora district?
Yes.
Are there any things that stand out there that seem to be problems with the document? What are your thoughts about the document?
I mean, there's always room for change because, as the county grows, everything grows. You have to consider that. But you also have to consider, why the document was in place. How does the people that live within the zoning area, feel? What's their opinions on growth? How do they visualize it? me personally, I like it from the standpoint of, it created a community where it's quiet, it's tranquil, all your commercial stuff you need is right across the highway. But when you go over there, it feels like you don't live in a city. It feels like you're out in the country. That's what I looked for in a place where I wanted to move to. And one of the reasons I picked that area is because it is zoned. I know a lot of other areas aren't. And, I'm always open to something new, but I'm also, going to listen to the people that make up the community. And, I'm not going to make a decision based on my personal views. I'm going to listen to everybody and kind of gather and go with, what we all think is best.
So how long have you said you moved here? How long have you been in Berkeley County?
I moved here, it's about 5.5 years, October 2015.
Well, thanks for interviewing and wanting to get involved and helping represent the community. I appreciate that. Volunteering your time.
Mr. Coconac.
Yes, sir. Yeah, you've actually answered my questions. And number one, thanks for offering your services to this board in particular. I think it's important to be able to help represent your neighborhood. Yeah. But you answered my real question was, do you feel that you have the ability to treat petitioners fairly when they come before you with a zoning change or a request for something that the current document requires? There are allowances for change, and that you can treat people fairly.
Yeah, I mean,
and you answered that for me already.
that's the main thing is that you always have to have open minds. You have to listen to everybody's points of view, decides everybody, and you look at the document that's governing it, and you kind of find a happy medium. What the best case scenario could be without just saying totally no, totally yes. You can always compromise on something.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, you've answered all my questions too, as far as that goes. And
Well, there's one other thing. The Board of Zoning Appeals, there's another zoning district too that you have to work with, and that's the Windy Wall zoning. It's not just Tuscarora.
Yes.
those are two spot zoning districts here within the county that,
Yeah, because the other one is over where 9 and 45.
yeah, right
Yes.
in that area. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's a little bit different neighborhood, but still the same, same would apply. So,
Yeah. I mean, if something came up in there, you would listen to those people, you listen to the petitioner, and use that
There's
to make
actually
your
one.
decision.
There's actually one of those spots that's very unique because it's a pocket right inside the city, and it's surrounded by city all the way around. But it's a couple block pocket right in the city for some reason or another.
Yeah.
okay. Thank you so much for wanting to interview and to volunteer for one of our boards. And thank you for choosing Berkeley County to be your home.
Yep, and thank you guys for having me.
We'll make a decision, not today, but we'll have several more interviews to go through, and then we'll be getting in touch and notifying the candidates.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Mr. Campbell? Okay, we're getting back on schedule a little bit ahead, so come on up and tell us a little bit about yourself that we may not know, so.
Well, my name is Jeff Campbell, and I live in Mountain Brook Estates, which is in the district that we're speaking of here. And I live at Lot 6, 20 Badland Brook Lane. So my property backs up to the Tuscarora Creek and directly across from the proposed development on the other side of the creek, the Steptoe property. I've been in Berkeley County since 1979. I moved here from Pennsylvania, and began work here with an architect at that time. From that point on, my career has been in construction, not in actual labor, but in sales, design, drafting, management. I managed a couple of building supply places here for 16 years. A place called Mirandex, I know you're aware of Mirandex. And so Doug, that's how I met Doug at first, he was a customer of mine. So we've been in Mountain Brook Estates since 2003. I lived on Tennessee Avenue for 14 years prior to that. So I know the area very well, and you know, sort of the way things flow in this county. I saw this as an opportunity to maybe give back. I'm now retired. I didn't realize that there was that there was zoning in Berkeley County. Because I remember when it was voted down years ago, but I didn't realize there were still 2 zones. And that wasn't a consideration when we moved to Mountain Brook Estates. We didn't, I've heard a lot of people say that, but we just liked the area. We were like the 4th or 5th people to be in there. Where the house built it. So I see this as an opportunity to give back to the community and volunteer for a position. I understand a little bit about it. It's not something that would go, not a regular monthly meeting, but as needed in the 2 zones, Grindelwald and Tuscarora. So yeah, 2 boys went through Martinsburg High School, and one of them still lives here, the other one lives in Florida. But that's basic bio of my family history.
We're going to start off with Mr. Barnhart. If he has any questions?
The one thing that gets me about Tuscarora zoning is the bizarre shape of it. Do you think there's any plans in the community to do anything about that or anything? Have you heard anything?
For the Tuscarora district?
Yeah.
No, I have not heard of it. I wasn't even aware of it until this came up with the step-to property. I thought, oh my God, there is. Now I got the letter from the council. Read that, I delved deeper into it and read the 1975 documents and realized then there is a zone with one in the middle of it and one in Winterwall. So that naturally got my curiosity up. So, and it would affect our neighborhood, so I was interested for that reason as well. Mm-hmm. But as far as hearing anything from anyone, no one has said to me, what's an odd thing here, an odd shape. We understand how it happened and why.
Well, there's been trading of properties back and forth between Dr. Farmer and the Steptoes and, all this sort of stuff. And I think that has something to do with it.
Yeah, I mean, it is a weird, I would say it is a strange shape. It comes to a point.
Yeah.
And
has no bearing on
right.
property lines or anything.
I think what Jim's alluding to is that take Chateau Gay, for example. It cuts kind of right to the middle of the whole subdivision, and there's probably a good possibility that community could come together and decide to change the boundary so that the whole community was actually in that
which would make sense
zoning district if that community wanted to do that. Right. What's your thoughts on that type of situation? Not that I'm stepping on.
I would agree with that, and the same thing happens in Mountain Grove Estates. It doesn't cover all the properties in Mountain Grove Estates. I thought, well, it's just the way the thing was designed at that time before.
Oh, before they existed.
Before it was, but I could see the advantage it had. I'm a proponent for more zoning myself. I've always felt that way. I think it's very much needed in this county.
Well, it would strengthen the Tuscarora zoning district if it was larger and included some of Chateau Gay and Mountain Brook and those kinds of places. more unity or more community involvement and all that kind of stuff.
Well, as we have more and more people moving in and businesses, I think, there needs to be some control over what happens. Otherwise, we're going to get, situations where we have in some parts of the county already.
But it's, of course, it's not only to enlarge it, but you wanted to look at the organizational or the document to see if it needs fine tuning. Also, for more inclusion, less inclusion, whatever the case may be. Because it's 1975 and this is 2021, 22,
Right.
and times change, factors change, and, zoning districts change. And, it should be looked at from that point of view.
Well, we have the same situation with our, the covenants for our subdivision. They haven't been changed since they were written, which was a long time ago. And
Yeah.
there's some things in there that just don't make sense and should be adapted.
Yeah.
And I think the same is true with zoning
Yeah.
in particular.
Well, look at the city of Martinsburg. They're engaged in a life and death struggle over changing their zoning
Right.
ordinance, and it's getting to be a bit polarizing. In the
We
city of
actually had the
Martinsburg.
first reading already.
Had the second reading. didn't they?
Yeah, first and second, they do them both at the same
Yeah.
meeting.
There's a lot of misinformation that occurs too when these things start being talked about in the community, and
Mhm.
I think that's happened there too. Because we had a guy come. I was talking to my son one day about the car, and a guy came up and started talking to us about it here for half hour, But some of it, most of it was true, I think, but I'm not sure. You really have to dig into it, I think, to get the information.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Gaillard. I skipped right over. I thought you.
Skip right over me.
Yeah,
Thought I was
yeah.
sleeping or something.
Yeah, I did.
I think that I agree with you. I think it makes more sense to at least go with boundary lines of subdivisions, those type of things. That was created before the subdivisions, but there's also a downside to one of the downsides I see to zoning, and I can see benefits to zoning absolutely. But one of the downsides is once you create zoning, you give it to a council to enforce or modify. And so it's very important to stay with interaction in your community if you're in a zoning area. The community needs to be involved in the decision-making process and make sure that it goes the way that the community wants it to go. Because if not, it's left up to this council to decide, or the next council to decide how things are going to be shaped for the future, and you want to have that input, especially when you own real estate in it.
So what you're suggesting is that there be an annual or semi-annual review of, or a 5-year review of the zoning documents. Make sure that everyone's still in play with that. Is that what you're saying?
All right. Yeah. No,
Makes sense. I mean,
I think
I think that makes a lot of sense to do that.
Yeah, I think it does too. I think that, one of the encouraging things, when we had our discussion about this, about removing the zoning totally, it was because we had no interaction at all from the community that was zoned. We couldn't even get people to come and offer to sit on the board, and the zoning is there to protect you and your property rights, and it's very important. I've sat on many HOAs and boards over the years just for those facts, because I own real estate in there, and I want to make sure that that my rights are protected and followed by the guidelines that were there when I bought the property, at least. So you're retired. You got plenty of time.
Oh, well, not really.
Not really.
I'm very active when it comes to I can do this.
Okay.
It's not a problem.
Well, I do appreciate your interest in getting involved and helping the community out, and be willing to have an open mind going into it and looking at different ways to improve it. So I think that's always a good way to look at it in the onset.
I think that, the council putting out that letter to everyone in the district was a real eye-opener for a lot of people, including me, like, oh, here's something that's going on. I wasn't even aware, as I said, of the district or of the area. But that might be potentially a good thing to do in the future if something comes up, or if you need people to get involved.
Well, keep in mind, that's not a requirement. That's something we decided to do
No, I know.
because we wanted to make sure. But the future councils, if they decide to follow the guideline of the law, all they have to do is post something on the on our website and down in the building, and that's pretty much. Am I correct?
Well, we would do a
Paper?
We would do at least a class 1 legal ad.
Right.
But,
For the 8,000 people that look at the journal.
right. But as you mentioned, the council directed me to do a class 2 legal ad, which we did.
All right.
Our legal department put together correspondence, and that went out to every homeowner who could identify within the zoning area. So this council absolutely went above and beyond as far as the notification goes, and would hope that future councils would decide to do the same thing, but it would not be required by law.
Right.
And the public notice sign that's placed on the property is west of your entrance to where you go. So he would even go past that sign to have notification of it.
Possibly ever, right?
Yeah, so that's a problem on a lot of those public hearings.
Yeah, the word traveled quickly though.
It did. It spread pretty quick by phone, by word of mouth, and
Email.
emails. Yeah, we all.
People weren't paying attention to what's going on. They're worried about other things in their life, and so when something like this comes up, it gets a lot of attention.
Yeah.
And,
It becomes an important decision for people that lived in that community. And it really, of all the good things that could happen was what took place, because it brought out the good in the people and brought them here to us to want to be involved in their community. And that's what I've wanted the best out of.
I would say that was the best job that we have done as a council about getting the word out, and because we have had many public meetings that were very poorly attended, and to go the extra mile and get the word out and get people here to have that conversation helps us do our job, helps us understand what the community wants. And that's what we want to do. We want to do what the community wants. But if they don't show up and tell us, if they don't send us emails, if we don't get any interaction, then we have to guess. Yeah.
that puts you in a difficult position, I understand.
Right.
Okay, have any other questions?
Yes, sir. I see you used to work with an old friend of mine, Robert Eccles, Bob Eccles.
You're the fire chief.
That's right. Yeah. So, great guy. I haven't talked to him for a while, but
He lives in South Carolina. I'm actually gonna see him next week for the first time in a year.
so tell him the people from the firehouse said hi.
I will.
Tell him I said hi as well. I'm actually just about finished with probably one of his probably his last project he actually put together. He just did it last year actually for the BTM office building I'm doing up in Spring Mills.
Well, he's actually my brother-in-law.
Is it?
Yeah. My sister passed away when she was younger. But he lives in South Carolina, remarried. And his grandson is going to graduate from high school in Michigan, so we're going to go there next week. So that's why I'm going to see him.
We're at Michigan.
Near Detroit. Can't think of the name of the little community, but it's right in Detroit. Glen something, or Oak Glen, or
Okay. Sorry.
No, I said, the only other thing, other than our friend Mr. Eccles, is I have, just want to make sure that you feel that you have the ability to treat people fair, that when they come before you with a petition for a change or an exemption of the ordinance, that you listen to them and can offer a fair judgment.
absolutely.
Without question.
I would listen to what the person's had to say, if I document it and then start analyzing. I would not make an instantaneous decision on anything like that. I would, confer with the other people on the committee, or the board, or whomever it needs to be. Just discuss with, but I would not make a unilateral decision about something like that. Thank you.
I think you've answered all of my questions also, so I really appreciate the time that you took to want to come in for the interview. And
Well, thank you for the opportunity.
yes, indeed.
Thank you.
I think we're good. Thank you so much. Already 10:45, a little bit early. We'll take a little break, and we'll come back at 11 o'clock, maybe a little bit earlier. Long break. Next item on the agenda is Board and Commission interview with John Bushman. You want to come on up and introduce yourself one more time and tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm John Bushman. I'm orthopedic surgeon here in town and interested in serving on the zoning appeals board for the Tuscarora district.
Okay. Start off some questions, Mr. Barnhart. You have
Why?
Well, I live in the district and I'm just interested in being a part of taking part in what's going on there.
You know, it's also not only Tuscarora, but Windy Wall too.
Okay.
It's
Apparently you didn't, but the other night.
yeah, welcome.
Okay.
I was under the impression it was, yeah,
No,
you had
no,
to
it's-
see this for that, but
it's-
that's, yeah.
There's two zoning districts in the
Yeah.
county.
Okay.
And the BZA oversees both of those. So if
Okay.
there's an issue with either one,
Sure,
things
okay.
come up, changes, somebody wants to do.
You know where Windy Wall is. Windy Wall,
I do not.
Route 9 and Route 11, the intersection,
Okay.
right there.
southeast corner.
Yeah, that's one of them. There's actually three pieces of
Yeah.
Windy Wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
One of them is actually a pocket that's surrounded by the city, kind of in behind town of Somerville, back in that area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been, what, 1975 when the thing was adopted? Something like that.
Yeah,
Something like
that.
And it's been unchanged since then.
Right.
Do you have any feeling about making changes to it, or do you think changes need to be to it as well as enlarging it? You know, are you familiar with the shape of it?
Somewhat, yeah. I mean, that's
Bizarre. It's a bizarre shape.
It is, yeah.
Has no bearing on Mountain Brook or Chateauguay or anything like
Right.
that.
Yeah, I mean, there's like a sliver of Mill Point that's in there.
Yeah.
And it's like half of. I'm in Mountain Brook, and it's like just the one end of Battling Brook Lane, the other end's out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very odd.
You have any thoughts about that?
Not at the moment. I mean, it. Yeah, I mean, nothing in particular.
Well, it would. I would think it would strengthen the zoning ordinance
Yeah.
to include all of the subdivisions that are partially
Right.
reflective.
Sure.
You know, give you more community support, strengthen it actually, because you
Right.
have a broader constituency and yada yada yada.
Right.
And I don't know if there's anything about. I don't know if you've read the zoning ordinance or not, but if there's a need to update it since it hasn't been updated at all.
Right.
I mean, those are issues that I don't know if you've thought about them or would consider them or anything like that. Of course, that's not what the zoning appeals board does, but to broaden the aspect of
Right.
because one important thing about zoning is the people have to consider the zoning ordinance applicability to their property.
Sure.
And it needs to be updated, just like the city of Martinsburg is updating
Right.
theirs, and that's become a plethora of ideas and positions and everything else.
Sure. Yeah.
But just a thought.
Is that it? Mr.
That's
Elliott?
enough.
Okay.
That's enough. So I think you were here last week, weren't you?
Yes, I was.
Aren't you one of the HOA?
Yes, I'm the vice president of the HOA at Mountain Brook Estate.
Yeah, you were Thursday. I think you were here.
Yes. Yeah.
On Thursday morning.
Yep.
Thursday. Yeah, I was here at the 11.
Well, What's this memory thing?
It just popped in there. You know? Every now and then I remember something.
Everybody has one somewhere.
Yeah, something.
And that's short term, so that's good.
Oh, yeah.
That's good. You probably didn't even know we had a meeting last week.
It's long ago.
He's checking out his, what is it, CoQ10 ingestion or something there.
So do you know exactly what the BZA does?
Not entirely. I mean, obviously that'd be something to, read more on. But
Right. So and that may be a good thing to have once we put that together. It may be a good idea since it's almost, we're going to pretty much just create the whole thing again because it's all going to be new members. That may be a good thing to have a little study session with legal counsel to explain the purpose and what you guys are supposed to do, that
Right.
type of thing. Historically, I mean, if you look at the charter, I guess it's called the charter for the zoning, it allows certain things in there, and there's separate areas that just allow housing, those type of things, but then high density housing is allowed, but it's allowed by approval from the BZA. And so then obviously there's the conversation that has to take place, as well as there's some businesses that are allowed in that area as well, but they're under approval by the BZA.
Right.
So in order for somebody to put in subdivision with houses out there, the carte blanche, I guess they could just go ahead and do that. But if they want to do certain other things like the high density or a business, whatever,
Right.
it falls under that zoning approval. So,
Right. Yeah. And what the definition of high density technically would be.
And it doesn't define that in the paperwork. So that's a thought process that has to, and maybe legal counsel could help with that thought process
Right.
as well. So I think I can see where that board moving forward, if anything comes to it, they would have to work with legal counsel on some of the issues with that.
Right.
Have you lived here your whole life, or?
No, I moved here in 2012. Initially, I lived in Inwood for a year, rented a house down there, and then purchased where I currently am in 2013. Originally from Maryland, I grew up about an hour from here, and then I've been kind of all over. I was down in Fort Lauderdale for med school, and then in residency in Ohio, and then been here ever since.
So what brought you back here?
Sort of the proximity to where I grew up. My parents still live where I grew up in Clarksburg, Maryland. It's a little south of Frederick. So they're there. My brother's a couple hours north in Pennsylvania. My sister's a couple hours south. So kind of close to family, and I like the area.
So, and maybe you said it already, what do you do?
I'm an orthopedic surgeon.
Did good work here, that type of thing? You
Yeah.
work here local?
Yeah, good practice. Actually in residency, as I was coming through, one of my attendings in residency did residency with my now partners, Cincinnati, Foster, and Knudsen, and that's kind of how I got connected with them. And I came here initially employed, and then liked it and stayed, and I'm a partner in the practice.
Right.
Like the area.
Well, I did not know you were a partner in the practice. I do know the practice and very good reputation.
Yeah.
So just want to get involved and protect property rights, that type of thing. That's the thought
Yeah.
process. Okay. Yeah, I don't have anything. I appreciate your interest in getting involved and
Yeah.
and serving on the board.
Is that it?
That's it.
Mr. Coconut.
Good morning, Dr. Bush.
Good morning.
Number one, thanks for applying for this board.
Sure.
You know, it's always good to have the public involved. This is a great opportunity to be able to do that. I don't have a whole lot. You know, my biggest thing is that the applicants on this particular board have the ability and feel that you have that concern of compromise and being able to listen to what the petition may have for exemption and give it a fair shot. You know, I think that's all people really ask for,
Right.
is to be treated fair. And, but thank you for applying.
They kind of answered or asked all the questions that I that you answered for me, so.
Okay.
We don't make any decisions today. We've got several more interviews to go through, and I was just out at Charles' office a couple of Fridays ago, so. But yep, I will, again, we appreciate your interest in the community and
Okay.
want to volunteer and serve, so thank you very much.
Yep, you're welcome.
All right,
Thank you.
take care.
Thank you.
All righty. I think 11:15, we're pretty good. Next, Board and Commission interviews with Zandria Lansdowne. I didn't butcher your name too bad, did I?
You said it perfect.
Did I? Well, that's a first. You're here to interview for the Criminal Justice Board, so tell us a little bit about yourself that we don't know or that we should know.
What about me? Zandria Lansdowne. I go by Z because my name's usually slaughtered. And because my father was cruel when he named me. I have a whole bunch of kids. I'm married to my elementary school sweetheart. Been 32 years come July 1st. Took me years to beat him into submission, but he's a great guy now.
Excuse me, could you pull that mic down a little bit? We are televising, and it's hard to know that mic doesn't work very well anyway, so it's hard enough. Sorry about that.
It's okay, I'm short, so.
Well, and I wasn't going to point that out.
Vertically challenged.
There you go. I'm perfectly challenged.
Okay.
I want to be on this commission because I have a strong love for people, and I believe that I'm tired of hearing people complain all the time, and I think we need to change. And instead of sitting back and complaining constantly about how things should be run and how things should be changed and how this person should be doing that, I think we need to open ourselves up and do something about it. And here I am, giving myself in and hopefully be able to get on the board and help. I want to change the way people look at our police departments. I want to change the way people look at one another. I say what, but I know it can be done. It's not just a dream. It's a reality, and I want to be one of those people that help make it a reality.
That's what it takes. It takes somebody wanting to step up and voice their opinion and work hard at something to make a difference. And everything can be changed. It's just somebody's got to be willing to be that person that's willing to call out the need and then be willing to do the work that needs to happen to make it happen.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I think I'm that person because I'm mouthy, but I know when to shut up.
Yeah.
I'm nasty, but I know when to smile. I'm lazy, but I know how to get things done. Works too.
Mr. Barnhart.
Your application here says you're a business owner.
Yes,
What business is that?
I own Jericho Brokerage and do transport. You know, I get truck loads is what I do. I also do taxes on the side. So I'm a bookkeeper for the truck drivers. My whole world revolves around transportation.
Oh, okay.
I used to own a tractor trailer company.
Oh, really?
Yes, before I was a social worker in another life, you know, after the school teacher, but before the social worker, I was the tractor trailer driver.
Okay. Yeah, my son-in-law was a tractor trailer driver. And he really got fed up with over-the-road truck driving, you know, that long haul. You know, now he just moves them from one parking lot to another locally. So,
That's a sweet job.
yeah.
I raised 6 of my kids in the back of a tractor trailer.
Well, he
My
didn't do
husband was over
that.
the road.
He didn't do that.
It was crazy. I don't know.
That's all I have, and thank you for applying for Development Authority, Dispatch Advisory, Criminal Justice, and Day Report Center.
I went it all.
You covered it all. Do you know what the Development Authority does?
I assume the Development Authority actually helps develop things, helps develop not just committees, but events.
No.
No.
That's CBB.
Yeah, that's a different organization.
Oh, okay.
That's the Convention and Visitors Bureau. The Development Authority has land that they sell to companies like Macy's and Procter & Gamble and Clorox, those kinds of places.
Oh.
And then they do some other things, but Dan will explain that to you. Go ahead.
That's a vague description there, Jim.
Well, it's a beginning.
That's a beginning.
It does a lot more than
He
that.
touched the corners, but
Yeah.
you know, you do have a dynamic personality. I can tell that. Maybe that came from truck driving. I don't know. I carry a CDL operator's license myself, so I could drive tractor trailer and have drove tractor trailer. Not that I would like to be doing that, but hooray for you, because that's a tough job. Tough job to sit and do that all day long, and especially if you're going to go up into New York or someplace like that, it's a whole nother world. No, I can see. I can see that we'll find a place for you if you want to get involved. We will find a place for you, because I think you're what we need. And this man over here can tell you, he sits on the he's the legal counsel for the Development Authority, and I sit on that board, and that's what I've tried to bring to that board over the past several years, is more interaction. Somebody that's not going to just sit there and listen to what goes on, but get involved. And right off, I'm going to throw this out there. And we used to hear it from Elaine all the time, but I took over her board. We have a roundhouse authority that is in dire need of somebody with more business thought process, understanding how businesses work and how to create something a little different. We've got a foundation, they call it on there, that we're going to be putting together. It was put together and then it was set aside for a while, and they're going to reactivate it within the next couple of weeks. But I don't know if you're familiar with the Roundhouse here in Martinsburg, but it's a unique piece of property that could be it could be a huge economic driver for the city of Martinsburg and our county. To hold events. It's the largest clear span building we have in this county. It's an amazing piece of property that's been sitting for years, trying to get to the point where it can create revenue to be self-sustaining.
Right there on Queen Street, right?
Yeah, it's just off of Queen Street. Yeah, right there, you're right at the underpass off to the right there.
Yeah, I like old buildings, so I
It's an old building.
go looking around.
It's an old building, and it's in pretty decent shape, but I thank you for your interest in getting involved in something in the county. If you're interested in the Roundhouse, after this, I'll give you one of my cards, and you can give me a call, and we'll have a conversation about it,
Oh, I like that.
okay?
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm good.
Well, welcome back. You know, I remember you were here a few weeks ago, and you came forth in the public section of our meeting. And when I look at all of your interests, you know, they're pretty wide, you know, from the Development Authority to dispatch, criminal justice. The thing that sticks out to me is a family counselor. Are you a licensed family counselor?
I am not licensed anymore.
Okay.
I was at one point, but with life and illnesses and children, and I am no longer licensed. I do counseling in church. I'm an associate pastor of a church in Hagerstown right now. Well, I was until 3 years ago. I had to leave for 3 weeks. But yeah. Yeah, I used to do family counseling and individual counseling through the church.
But you obviously have a lot of experience with 14 children. There's a lot of counseling going on there.
Yeah, because all of my children have something.
I'm pretty confident of that. Yeah, but your interest in the criminal justice board. There's a lot of moving parts that particular board. With David Board, community home confinement, and there's a big umbrella there. So I think some of your skills maybe it would be used there. So thank you for coming there and putting your name in for an opportunity to serve there. Thank you.
Well, see, thank you. I think pretty much you've already answered all my questions with everybody else speaking first. So we don't make a decision today, but we definitely will have your application here, and you'll probably be receiving a call from us. So thank you so much for coming back in. Good to see you again.
You'll see me all the time.
Okay.
I got a permit baby son.
Okay.
Here's one of my cards.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okey-dokey. 11:30 is Tara McCoy. Interview for the Board of Zoning Appeals. Tell us a little bit about yourself that we should know, and we'll have a couple of questions and answers.
Well, my name is Tara McCoy. I live in Mountain Estates. We've lived in Martinsburg, Berkeley County area for since 2015. We moved in the area because of my husband's job. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I homeschool 3 boys now. Graduated my oldest back in 2019. He's in the Air Force now. He serves active duty. He's down in North Carolina now. So it's I have 3 boys. They're going into 11th, 8th grade, and 2nd grade now. So we just live life.
Let's say you say you're a stay-at-home mom, but that's a full-time job anymore.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Barnhart, we'll start off with any questions that he may have. And
I don't know how people homeschool, but I went to public schools. That's all I know. But homeschooling sounds like I don't know how you do it.
Well, I myself was homeschooled from 6th grade and graduated, and so we've done it since my oldest was in kindergarten. So we're starting our 16th year this year. So it's become something that we've done. My husband, we moved around a lot because of my husband's job. He was in the Marine Corps for 8 years, and he's been in local law enforcement, and now he's in federal law enforcement now. So we've kind of moved around, but we decided to make Berkeley County where they put our roots down. So.
Are you aware that the appeals board handles any zoning appeals not only in Tuscarora district but also in Windywall district?
I wasn't aware of where it handles it, but I was aware that it handles pretty much Berkeley County. Yes.
Well, there are 2 zoning districts. One is
Right.
Tuscarora, and the other is Windywall.
Correct.
And Windywall, of course, is where 9 and 11 meet there, and so you have both areas.
Correct.
Okay. Of course, I guess you're familiar with Tuscarora, but I didn't know if you were familiar with Windywall. I guess this indicates that you're really interested in the future of the Windywall or the Tuscarora zoning district
Correct.
area
Yes.
and want to improve it and that sort of stuff. The Windywall zoning was formed in 74, 75, I don't know exactly when, and hasn't had any changes to it since. Are you aware of the zoning ordinance itself? Have you read it or anything?
Not the Windywall, but
the Tuscarora?
I read most of the
Okay.
Tuscarora.
Yeah, do you think it needs updated or anything like that? That's not a job of the zoning
Right.
appeals board, but it's a job of, you being a member of the zoning district.
Right. For the fact that of the zoning, I think it was put in place for a reason, and I think that it should. I personally believe that the zoning that's in place right now is for residential, a certain size of residential, and that what it's for, I think, is to keep it. But it is. I think that the zoning that is there is appropriate. So I think it would be good to keep it as such.
Yeah, the only problem I have with it is the shape. It's a rather bizarre shape.
It is a bizarre shape.
But that's an item that the citizens need to address if they, it's not a job of the appeals board.
Right.
that it?
I guess.
Okay. Mr. Delia?
I think you're absolutely correct in what you said when Jim was talking to you, that it is a zoning board for the county. So it does handle any of the county's zoning. If there were more zoning areas created, it would oversee those areas as well as if those areas become larger. It would also make the decisions that are based on the charter for that area. Am I saying that right, Anthony? The charter?
It's an ordinance.
It's just the ordinance? What was the date that was created?
1975.
70.
I can't give you the date.
Okay, but it was in 75. Okay, Jim's kind of remembering from memory over here. He's pretty close. He was hitting a couple years back and forth.
Yeah.
But I think you're correct. It is for all the county, and currently we have two different districts that handle that or that are part of that. What brought you to Berkeley County?
My husband works at Dulles, and so we did not want to live anywhere near that area. And so we originally moved to Front Royal, Virginia. We didn't like that area very much, the area, the taxes and all that stuff. And when we decided to buy, we looked across the border to West Virginia because it just looked more family friendly, and so this is where we decided to put our roots.
So where you said you didn't like the Dulles area, are you familiar with the zoning that they have in those areas, that type of thing?
Not necessarily, it was just too congested. My husband wanted a place where it was less congested, more, and we purchased our house in Mountain Brook Estates because we were able to get 1.5 acres. We wanted more land. We have 4 boys. We were able to just have more spread out. We didn't want a townhouse. We didn't want to be on top of our neighbors. We didn't want, so close and congested. We wanted a more family friendly. The homeschool laws up here were much more friendly. So we just wanted what Berkeley County had to offer for us. And so that's why we chose it.
Have you sat on any other boards, county boards or
I never
private
have.
boards or no?
No.
That's it. Okay. Thank you for getting involved. Appreciate that.
Mr. Coconut?
Yes, ma'am. Number one, thanks for applying. This board has been idle for quite a while, and obviously there's some interest in what's going on in your neighborhood now. So thanks for stepping forward to be a part of the solution. Really, one of the main things that I have, and I'd like to ask you if you feel as if that you can treat people fairly, that when they come before you with a zoning request exemption or a change or a modification, that you feel as if you will have the ability to treat people fair.
I believe I could. I believe I would be able to look at the whole picture and look at what is presented before me and be able to weigh what is before me and look at what I'm asked to do and do it unbiased.
Great, thank you.
Okay. I don't have any questions, but I want to thank you for coming in and I want to give back to your community and we won't make a decision today, but we have some more interviews to do, and so we just want to thank you and appreciate you coming in.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty, 45. Looks like Doug's not here because we're a little bit ahead of schedule. Next, board and commission interview with the Criminal Justice Board, Mr. Patrick Patton.
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Very good.
Good.
I think this is probably an old interviewed with us before. I think you're already sitting on the board right now, or in a capacity thereof.
Yes, sir. I haven't had the opportunity to meet you before, but I've been sitting on the board in a different capacity throughout the school year. Yes, sir.
Okay, well, Mr. Barnhart will start off with any questions he may have, or you might introduce yourself a little bit first, and then I'll let him, maybe I'll do that and let him, and then he can grill you after that.
Okay. Well, hello, my name is Pat Patton. I am the coordinator of Project Aware in Berkeley County Schools, which we provide school-based therapy to students free of charge, and we work with Eastridge Health Systems to do that. Prior to coming on beginning of the school year, I worked in healthcare for about 15 years, providing every level of behavioral health service there is, from inpatient to emergency room to coordinating programs, mental health programs and addiction treatment. And before that, I was probation officer for the state of West Virginia for approximately 10 years, and also a house arrest officer for a few years before that for the Sheriff's Department in Marion County. So I'm hoping that all of that experience can be useful on this board.
That's a lot of experience.
Well, as you can tell by the hair, I've been around a while.
Hey, at least I have it here.
Yeah, you
I got you there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's like you really like that.
Hey, it's something to be proud of.
We bring him in here to heckle the applicants.
That's the volunteers for us, yeah, way to go, Joe.
Well, it can't
Yeah.
be any worse than when I first came home with this, my wife said, "You wanted that?" I said, "No one ever wants it, but it's the only thing I had left." So,
I really don't have any questions for you. I mean, your experience is kind of right down the line. Have you been going to the criminal justice board meetings?
yes,
Okay.
since the beginning of the school year.
Do you think it's run like you'd like it to run, or? I've never been to one, so.
Yes, so I do. I think it's run very well, very efficiently.
Oh.
The work, especially that is done by Tim Sion, and is fantastic. It's very beneficial to the community.
I like the new building.
It's beautiful. I saw it for the first time yesterday.
Oh, yeah?
At a meeting.
Yeah, pretty impressive.
It is, yeah. It made me jealous from my days back in when I was running a home farm program. I
Yeah.
didn't have nearly the program or the building.
It used to be a drugstore.
That's what I heard.
Yeah.
CVS.
Yeah, and then the building next to it, the sheriff, I used to be a grocery store.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, the buildings live on.
Yeah.
Damn. Terrible.
So the Criminal Justice Board serves a very important purpose for, it's the board that gives the direction, and allows us to have a day report center and, in our recovery resource, as well as our home confinement. So it serves a very, very good purpose. Sometimes that board, and I was the one that was involved from the very beginning on that board, when we formed the board, and sat on that for several years. And at some points, that board seems like you're just going in, listening to the process, and okaying the process to keep going, and there's not a lot of change. But that board is, like I say, it's not a dynamic thing that you see a bunch of big things happening all the time, but it's a very important board to be part of, because without that, we couldn't have those programs, and those programs do a vital service for our community. They save lives every day. They put people back to work, rehabilitate people. It's a great process that they're doing, and we keep people out of jail, allow them to stay with their families, and in their jobs, so that when their punishment is served or time is served, they can resume life as it was prior to whatever they did. Whereas if it's just a jail system, that doesn't happen. So I want to thank you for your interest in being involved in that and helping out with that process. And I didn't I keep saying I'm gonna go to one of the meetings, but I'm not included on the list anymore of when the meetings are, but I plan to go some point and thank the board for the many years that I was on it and got off of it, and now Eddie's on it, but it does serve a very, very important purpose, so I appreciate what you're doing and wanting to be part of it.
Thank you.
Mr. Coconut.
Hello again.
Okay.
Yeah, we were in a meeting yesterday, and Mr. Patton brings a tremendous amount of experience and institutional knowledge to the table, and he just doesn't bring it to the table. He participates, and he's a very valuable asset to that board. As your colleagues around the table, there's a diverse set of skills and abilities. As I spoke yesterday, thank you for being a part of that. There's a lot of good work being done there, and you with your background, you have a very good understanding of everything that's being done there. So I feel as if you will be a great addition to that.
I appreciate that.
Mr. Patton, thank you so much for coming in. I don't have any questions right now, but I think it's a little bit different. What we need to do is, I think we need to have a motion today to make it official that you're on that board, and then we'll get you to sign some paperwork, and I think we'll have them sworn in down at the clerk's office, or?
You have to have, you have to bring them a letter.
Yeah, bring in the letter.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit uncharacteristic of most of the time they interview folks and then later on they'll make a decision. But with you already serving on the board, I will make the motion that we appoint Patrick to the Criminal Justice Board.
Do you know what the term is?
His term actually will expire in August,
Oh, really?
and he'll be up for reappointment, and that's Tracy's request. Is being made.
So he's filling somebody else's
Yes,
term?
sir.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Uh,
Like sign opposed? Thank you so much.
Thank
You are here.
Well, you signed the letters yourself.
No, I'm sorry.
We'll have you a letter
We'll
here.
have to have Tracy do that. And that still leaves 3 vacancies on that board, so I know you've been interviewing some other candidates, so there are still some vacancies.
All righty. We are still a little bit ahead of schedule at 12. We have Anthony Delegetti, our legal director, and Jeff Mosley, our deputy legal director, the planning commission's recommendation for the petition of Tuscarora zoning map. Discussion and
Mr. Vice
action.
President,
Mr. Vice President, before we proceed, can we call Doug?
Yes, yes, we can.
At ASD?
We're going to call the president of the council. He is actually out of the area, but we're going to get a hold of him.
9320.
Hello. Hey, Doug, this is Jim. We're starting the discussion with the Tuscarora zoning district, and we want to give you a call to have you included on this. Can you hear us okay?
I hear you good, Jim.
Okay, thank you.
Eddie, let the record reflect that councilperson Copenhagen joined the meeting at 11:42.
Okay.
Point of, is Jim still chairing the meeting and Doug is on as a member, or how does this work?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, Anthony, the mic is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. As you all are aware, we are here based on a petition from Robert M. Steptoe, trustee of the Mary Patricia Steptoe Trust, Philip P. Steptoe, and Sally S. Hazard. They filed a petition to remove their property from the Tuscarora Community Zoning Ordinance. There have been multiple public hearings on potential changes to the ordinance. After it was received, the planning commission set a hearing on it. Public notice was sent out. Planning commission had a hearing under West Virginia Code, section 8A79. The planning commission is then to give advice to this body about whether to grant or deny the petition. The council received that from the planning commission sometime earlier this month. And additionally, the council went out and sent out notifications to all residents of the district, potentially, as has been stated many times here today, the awkward shape of the district. If you actually make it even more awkward by taking the middle out the middle, with giving the option to the council to get rid of the entire zoning ordinance if there were going to be such changes made. So council sent out notification to every resident there, and 2 public hearings here last week. The ordinance for a change, amending the zoning ordinance by petition is not very well written, but it does just require that a public hearing be had within 60 days and that the planning commission give advice to this body. If the amendment was adopted, there are certain findings that must be made, including finding that it is consistent with the comprehensive plan of the county. Now, if this body's decision to not grant a petition, to not amend the zoning ordinance, then this body doesn't have to make any finding as to whether it's consistent or not with the 2016 comprehensive plan. I believe the planning commission decided and made a recommendation that it was not consistent due to the comprehensive plan discussing zoning, the importance of zoning, the importance of history and historic districts. Part of this Tuscarora Community Zoning District is also in the Tuscarora Creek Historic District, which is on the National Register of Historic Places. And a lot of those things are discussed in the comprehensive plan, but this body, if it's decision to not grant the petition, doesn't even need to go that far and determine whether it is or is not consistent. So, if you have any other legal questions, you can have a discussion on the petition. I think we have petitioner's counsel here if you want to ask questions of him. That's not required. He doesn't have a right to speak here today. But if he wants to speak, you might want to let him speak. Are there any other questions?
I don't have any.
You recommend a recommendation from the planning commission?
The recommendation is to deny the petition.
Just wanted to clear it, that's all. Without all the other.
Okay.
Okay.
Do we have any questions or you want to propose?
Well, I'm a big believer in the Tuscarora zoning petition. It's, as far as I'm concerned, it was all or nothing, either keep it all together or, if they're going to cut a hole in the center of it, then eliminate the whole thing. But they have, the planning commission has recommended that keep it all together, deny the petition, and I'm in favor of that. That's another step.
Yeah, I personally haven't heard any arguments to the opposite of what the recommendation is, that I think is that is a substantial argument to remove a spot out of it. I think I think we've heard overwhelming comments from the other side of why not to. But if Mr. Barton wants to speak, I didn't know if
Council members had any questions first, and then I'll turn the mic over to Mr. Barton if he would like to make any comments.
Certainly, thank you, Mr. Vice President, for giving me the opportunity. I wasn't exactly expecting that, so I do appreciate you giving me a moment to speak. You know, it's interesting, when we first started talking about whether to bring this petition, my clients, we took a look at the comprehensive plan. And the comprehensive plan shows that this property is in a growth area. It's been that way since 2006, when this council attempted to have countywide zoning, and the countywide zoning ordinance was put in place, which was defeated in 2010. When you looked at it again in 2016, you again kept this in a growth area. So what does that mean if it's in a growth area? Well, by your comprehensive plan, it means that it should be high density, it should be recreational areas, and community, neighborhood, commercial. That's what the comprehensive plan says. And that's how we brought it for purposes of discussion. In addition, and I've heard many of you at various times talk about the importance of affordable housing. That's a priority of this council. Well, that's part of what this project was too, because if you look at what was proposed, it would be some villa homes similar to what's in the Spring Mills area that the builder, Panhandle Homes, is very familiar with building. And it will provide affordable housing at that exit, which doesn't exist. So folks who are trying to get to the south end of the county to work some of the lower paying jobs there, or to the northern end of the county, this property was uniquely fit for that. The other thing that's interesting is that if you truly believe that this is a growth area, this is the only swath of land on Tuscarora Pike that has any use for that. Most of the other things have already been built up. This is the only real strong piece of vacant land. So if you don't think it's in the growth area, and you don't think it's ready for development, well then why'd you leave it in? If it really is part of the comprehensive plan, that it's a growth area, that's what we've asked for. I listened at the planning, I was at the planning commission, of course, respectfully to all the folks who spoke, I walked away with a couple of things. We called my clients greedy, which disappointed me, and certainly disappointed my clients because they're well known in this community, and the family has been here for years. But I also heard nothing that said that it was inconsistent with the comprehensive plan. If you read anything if you read any of the petitions or oppositions that have been filed by the local communities, if you listen to the testimony, if you had testimony last week on whether to vacate it altogether, I walked away with, not in my backyard. I like seeing the deer, I like seeing the pheasants, and so forth. Well, sometimes the job of being in your seat, and I don't want your seat, is that you have to make the tough decisions on what's in the best interest of the county. The best interest of the county and the community in that particular area is to allow for a little higher density and to allow for some community, some commercial. The commercials, and you know, the commercial, while the original plan shows that there might be some storage units, that's already off the board. They're not going to do that. They walked away from that meeting saying, yeah, we would not do that based upon what the neighbors want. But higher density than simply half-acre lots has some benefit. And so, if we did anything, we got a lot of people involved in wanting to be on the BZA. I have to be honest with you, my heart sunk a little bit when I saw that we were on at noon and that for an hour and a half beforehand, you'd be interviewing people for a BZA. But I do appreciate you letting me speak to this. But this is a growth area. It's established as a growth area. And coming back to, there was never any testimony that this was inconsistent with the comprehensive plan. And I think the Planning Commission should have sat as a deliberative body, but they didn't. They never talked about why they made the decision. When the chair asked for the question, there was this pause of probably like 90 seconds. And then Councilperson Kokenauer made the motion. There was no discussion, and it was just a motion to deny. And there was never a finding that it was inconsistent. If you actually read the minutes of the planning commission, nobody said it was inconsistent, and that's what they were supposed to advise you on. Again, for the reasons I've stated, I believe that the petition that's been presented to you is consistent with the comprehensive plan, and you should move forward and deliberate on that issue as we go forward in the future for the best interest of the community. My thoughts.
Well, Mr. Barton,
Sure.
I think you've raised a couple of good points. In my mind, I believe that the people sometimes get frustrated with things that they don't understand and try to react to that, and sometimes it comes out in anger, and that may be why there was remarks that were I would call them inappropriate. I think that the developer that's trying to do that project, although I've never had any business actions with him at all, I think he does a very good job, very conscientious of the community, and works very hard to create a good product. But if we're looking at that piece of ground and the surrounding, I also understand that the public that came and sent me the 100 emails that area is already moving in a certain direction, and they want to keep that direction. That they're overwhelmingly supportive of continuing the growth that was intended for that property and not taking the zoning away from that property. But with that being said, there is a tool still in place for the developer to be able to do high density homes in that area. He just needs to come up with a plan, present it to the BZA, and it looks like we'll have a active BZA shortly. And under their guidelines, they allow that, under approval. So there is a tool for them to continue to do that and develop it, and I hope it works out for both parties.
I would ask, just sort of caution you as you think about this BZA, and Councilperson Kokenauer, I appreciate you inquiring as to whether folks will be even-handed, because I am deeply concerned that the BZA is going to shoot down every conditional use permit that comes along that's not consistent with, that are not to the words of the ordinance. I just have a great fear. So I would ask that you carefully decide who you're going to put on that BZA, because I think any petitioner coming will, just because I've seen the comments of these folks at the public hearings, the folks who are asking to be on the BZA, they are clearly not favoring any growth. So I would ask that you're careful about who you select. Frankly, I think you still have to remove the property, but I understand where I read TV news pretty well on that issue. Obviously, I heard the Vice President 2 days ago on the radio, so I know where you are now. I already know where Mr. Barnhart is, and I know where Mr. Gropian falls. So, but I do appreciate the opportunity and the care with which you address this issue.
Well, I think it's important for the Tuscarora zoning area to take a close look at their ordinance, and if it needs updated or modified, that they should investigate updating or modifying it. I mean, it's been in existence unchanged since 1974 when it was written.
Yeah, and September 75 when it was enacted.
When it was adopted. And that's a long time for a document of such to go unchanged. So I think they should take a close look at their ordinance, and if it needs modernization or modified, they should, look at it with that in mind. Now, that's not the job of the appeals board, but it's a job of the Tuscarora zoning people.
Well, actually, I think it's the job of the planning commission and the job of this council. And see, that's the problem.
Well,
That's the problem with spot zoning, which is what we had.
Yeah.
This county, the residents of this county defeated zoning in 2010.
Yes, they did.
And that's what and some might argue that by that fact, that all of the other zoning ordinances that were out there are no longer valid, but I'll leave that for another
Well,
day.
they
But-
not only objected the idea of zoning, they objected a zoning ordinance that was presented to them, which was probably not the way to go, but it's what we had. And
We have to start somewhere.
well, yeah,
The
but
ordinance.
you know,
But the end result is, I think there's a tool, and I think that once the dust settles, I think the individuals in this community are now going to have the thought process to think about that this raw piece of ground is going to be developed, and can we look at this as a appeals board and look at trying to come to some type of an agreement so that we can create something that is complementary to what's around it. And I'm sure that the developer is going to look at that as well on the same side.
Absolutely.
Mr. Vice President, if I can.
Yes, sir, I was gonna get to you, Doug, go ahead.
All right. I think everything that's being said here is great comments. I think one of the things we got to keep in mind is that, as Dan said, the Henry family has done wonderful work in Berkeley County. And I think the biggest thing that I heard in the comments was that we don't want commercial, meaning the storage building, which Mr. Barton, you've already said that's off the planning sheet now. And the biggest concern was the commercial space, meaning that the commercial space, not knowing that it was going to be professional, but it was going to be commercial. I think one of the things that we all understand, because all of us in the room probably right now are 55 years and older, and always, if we're going to do a 55-year and older community, it would be very near to the hospital and not have to be in a zoned area, but somewhere near to the hospital, because that's where people feel secure. I'm not so sure that with a little bit of marketing and with Panhandle being able to show the value of villas, because I think that's a great way to live once you get 55 and above, would be treated and would probably maybe be something that would be able to be allowed. I could see where townhouses wouldn't be, but because the townhouses doesn't suit 55 and older, and I know that's not part of the plan anyway. So at this time, I'd be the same as Councilperson Delier to say this would not be anything to judge or say anything bad about the Henrys, because they do care about their community, and they have protected their community, and they want to be a partner of the community. I think I think that I also believe that with the spot zoning or any person that's part of an HOA, those things are put in, and this one back in 1975 to protect the people that was going to be in that area. And I ran my campaign on property rights, and property rights back then and still today would be, don't devaluate my property. And that's how these people feel. And I'm not saying that the property would be devaluated in any means. But at the same time, to remove this piece of property from the zoning district would not be what the intentions of the steptoes did in 1975. So that's all I got to say.
Anyone else have any other comments?
Mr. Barton, as I discussed in the past, having lived here all my life, I've known the steptoes for quite a long time. Very, very highly regarded family. Mr. Henry, I've known him, I know now for quite a while. Great guy. So I know the folks that want to, present some of these changes, and they're great people. But I've also heard from over 100 of their neighbors, and a lot of them are not opposed to single-family homes. They were opposed to the storage units, and they are opposed to commercial. So, they understand this area is going to change. But how it changes, I feel as if they have a say in it. And that's why, to me, it is important that whoever's chosen to be on that BZA, that they are fair, that they are willing to listen and say, I think that would be nice, or I think this will fit, or yes, we can do that. Yes, we can increase the density of this property. So, having known almost all the players with the exception of, I don't know all the neighbors, obviously, but it didn't matter what I thought. Right after the gate, somebody asked me what was my opinion of this. It didn't matter what my opinion was. What really mattered to me was what the opinion of the people that live there. That's what mattered to me.
Sorry about that, I think. Doug is on me.
So if I could say one more thing, and your concern, I understand your concern from your standpoint that, obviously this brought a lot of attention, and obviously the people that it brought attention to are the ones that live in the community, and they're also the ones that should be part of the BZA. If it didn't bring any attention to somebody at all, they're obviously not going to be considered. They're not going to want to come be part of the BZA either. So, so the process. But Anthony must have stepped out of the room. But I believe
he's right here.
Oh, there he is. He's hiding behind. Sorry. I believe there is a process that if you do something and go to the BZA, and I'm not 100% of this process. I know in the city, if you go to the BZA, and I would assume it's the same process in the county, if you go to the BZA and you feel that that you haven't been treated fairly and you want to appeal that appeal would come back to, in the city, I think it goes to the circuit court, but I believe that comes back to us in the county. Am I correct or not? What's that? Goes to circuit court. Right. So then there is a process. So if you think that they're going to, and that's part of what I asked. That's part of what I asked. Hey, Doug.
Yes.
Can you hit the mute button? We're getting an awful lot of.
Yeah, I kind of thought so.
Thanks. If there's a learning process and we have an education process to this board of what can and can't be done and how the process should evolve, if they don't do that and they don't follow that guideline, you have an opportunity to appeal. So that board is also going to have to understand that if they want to create something, there's got to be a little bit of give and take and conversation to be able to develop the best thing possible. And I think the ones that we've had today were all intelligent community members that are concerned about their community, and I think you're able to get a good group put together to be able to work with.
I hope you're right.
I'm optimistic.
Okay. All righty, if there's anything else from council or?
Well,
Thank you for your time.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gordon. I think, although the statute does not require you to actually approve or deny, I believe due process would probably warrant a motion, either approve or deny the petition. I mean, I think we understand which way it's going at this time, so if one of the council members wants to make a motion, I think it's good time to do that.
Okay.
I'll be glad to make the motion.
Make it a positive motion.
What's that?
Make it a positive motion.
I'm a positive guy.
Well, I appreciate that.
I-
I've noticed that about you, and that's most appreciated.
I would like to make a motion to accept the recommendation from the planning commission to deny the petition.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second, all those in favor of that motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Like sign opposed? Motion carries.
I would like to make another comment, that I would be willing, not that I need anything else to do, but if we're talking about putting a liaison onto the BZA board, I would be willing to sit on that board, as a county liaison if they have meetings. I don't know that we can address that today, but I'm just throwing it out there.
I'll defer that to legal counsel.
I mean, the council could have somebody be a liaison, you wouldn't be able to do it.
I understand, but I could still be part of the conversation.
People will have to listen to it.
Right.
And
Whether,
when I'm like-
something
whether they
that
agree
doesn't
with it or
have to
not,
That's right.
I've actually been told once or twice, not too often, that I was a voice of reason. All right, Doug, I heard that.
Mr. Vice
It might have
President,
been him that said it.
I'd like to point out that your public hearings last week dealt with either keeping the total zone, Tuscarora zone in place or abolishing it in full. I didn't know if there was any discussion or action that this council wanted to take just to reaffirm the Tuscarora zoning area.
And I think we should at least have a conversation about it.
Because that
Sure.
was the whole purpose of the two public hearings that you
And
conducted last week.
it was overwhelming. It was overwhelming that that we not change
That the integrity
any
stays
of it
there.
and maintain. And I say overwhelming. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I got about 100 emails, and some of them were not very nice. Which, you know, the unfortunate thing is when this body is trying to do something and do the right thing, and we're reaching out and sending people, notices of the thought process and want them to get involved, it really surprises me that we have people call up or email and get so obstinate in what they're doing and accusing when we're trying to help. And it's hard to take somebody's comments seriously when they end it by calling you a name or referring to you that you don't do anything right, those type of things. So those are unfortunate comments, but the overwhelming majority of them was in support of keeping the district the same. Matter of fact, I think I only heard one, other than Ken, one comment to the opposite, that they thought it should be done away with. So, yeah, I think we should, in my opinion, I think we should make a motion after discussion and let the public know one way or another. My opinion is obviously clear, that I think we should maintain what we have and let the Board of Zoning Appeals do its job.
Would that prohibit growth from expanding that? Would that motion prohibit expanding that zoning district?
I don't think it would, no.
I mean, I wouldn't want it to.
No, to keep that, I don't think.
Because we're
I
split
think-
neighborhoods.
Right, I think that's a whole nother, to expand it, I think that's a whole other topic that has to be brought before the council. I think, I don't know why, I don't know what the guidelines are, but I would think they probably have to be 100% in order to add to that. But if, I can tell you that if somebody wanted to add to that, and there was 100% of them in that community that wanted to add to that, I would be absolutely for it. If it wasn't 100%, then we'd have to have that conversation at that point. But 100%, I don't know why this board wouldn't agree to add to a zoning district if, and I'm just throwing it out there as an example, if the remainder portion of Chateau Gay wanted to use the Chateau Gay boundaries and clean that funny shape up. If there was 100%, I don't know why you wouldn't be in
I just didn't want to prohibit that from being used.
and I wouldn't want to either. I think you're absolutely right.
And if I may, there's no, you don't have to actually, but I understand to put a motion forward to put to bed, we're not going to get rid of the zoning district. But in terms of expanding it, that would be an entire other process. That could be done by a petition with the planning commission or from other members of former communities such as Chateau Gay, any of those. It doesn't have to be 100% buy-in. To add something to the district, you would have to send out notice to all the people living there, like we did before. So, and then come for a public hearing in this body to be able to make a decision. You also have the option of doing an election, just like you do for, just like we've done with the county-wide zoning. But it doesn't have to be 100% buy-in. If you want, you can give me direction to ask the members of those three HOAs if they're interested in cleaning up the shape of the zone, to see what their thoughts are. I think that from this council's perspective, it's a big problem in the beginning, is the shape just doesn't fit with the reality today.
And I think it's a very good idea, in my opinion. I think it's a good idea to at least start that conversation and see. I think it's a good idea to try to clean up those boundaries and make them at least follow some type of line instead of going through the middle of people's houses, you know?
Okay.
And the only reason I recommended that you publicly take action is this council's been, as long as I've been affiliated with you, it's been all about transparency and everything above board. In regards to the Tuscarora zoning issue, we've done the best we had the direction of the council did do individual mailings. We've gone above and beyond what was necessary to make sure that the constituency was aware of the matters before you. And I think this just kind of puts closure. That's the only reason I brought it up.
And that's a very good idea. Very good idea.
We've heard the advice from legal as well as.
Would you like a motion?
I would.
I'd like to make a motion that we, that our, was it a petition that we put forward? Our proposal?
It was just a proposal.
Okay, our proposal to have a discussion and do away with zoning. My motion is to not have any action on that. And I think that's better to say it that way than to say that we're going to deny our own motion. But I think it's better to let it go with no action being taken on that and let it remain the way it is, so that we don't restrict any movements going forward on change of boundary lines, that type of thing.
Do we have a motion? Do I have a
That makes
second? I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Like sign opposed? Motion carried.
And one more thing, if you would like, I can draft, and I started drafting a written order, just kind of summarizing everything that's going on, so it's clear. I don't know if it's required, but there's a petition, and you voted, but rather than just a minutes, have an actual order denying the petition.
I think it's a real good idea to have it down on something so that 10 years from now, when it gets brought back up, at least there's a document stating what happened.
What took place. That'd be my wish.
Have that prepared for next week.
Yes.
Yep, sounds good. Okay. that concludes the 12 o'clock, at
Now
12.
you need items in the public.
Item.
And we're gonna do executive session.
Yeah, the executive session. Yeah.
First.
All right. Yeah, before we go into executive session, do we have any items from the public? Would anybody from the public like to speak? Okay. I have a motion to go into executive session, real estate matters and acquisitions, legal matters, and economic development.
And there will be no action.
And there will be no action taken.
So moved.
Second.
We are in executive session. Thank you. in session. No action coming out of executive session, but however, we were just informed that the governor of the state of West Virginia has declared Friday, is it tomorrow, as a state holiday, and
What holiday is it?
Juneteenth.
Okay, I was waiting for him to do it.
Well, he ain't gonna do it.
He was trying.
And Berkeley County will observe that as a holiday tomorrow.
Upon confirmation from the governor's office that it will be a paid state holiday, please.
Upon confirmation from the governor's office that it will be a paid state holiday.
And the 20th or 21st, whatever Monday is also a paid state holiday.
It's West Virginia.
It's West Virginia Day. So we'll be closed with confirmation
Friday,
today
Saturday,
at
Sunday, and Monday.
5 and open Tuesday.
Correct.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else? Mr. Barnhart?
I move to recess
We are recessed.
until Tuesday.
Hey,